Hey, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm Erin.
Hey, we're still diving into the points of awareness for a unique mission. We're going to talk about the unique problem-solution combos that you and nobody else, you uniquely bring to the table. Do you know what they are?
Yeah. Do you know what problems you uniquely solve and in your own unique way? Really fun question to start to ask yourself. So,
to experience more meaning.
Yes. Yeah. It does. It helps you experience so much more meaning and really live in your gifts and your strengths and even just your interests. So stick around. Definitely stick around with us.
We'll see you in
there. It's going to be a fun one.
Pop. Good morning. Good afternoon. It depends on when you're listening to this. It's mid-morning for us here.
Look, we match.
We do. And I've got my Bear Down Chicago Bears representing.
It was a Christmas present.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Here we are. We're talking about another point of awareness for, I always have to think through these. I'm like, is it pillar or whatever? Okay.
We record these things like back to back to back to back.
Yes.
So it's like, we're
doing
point of awareness
another point of awareness.
In our mission pillar.
Yes.
Mission pillar, point of awareness.
And mission, just to kind of like review this, mission is like what God is calling you towards. So all these point of awareness are there to help you, find that path.
Help you discern it. Yeah. We pick the points of awareness as things that, with a little bit of reflection, it's very easy to know these things. Like we can just kind of go into our own experience, we can find resonance, and we can start answering some of these questions. And when you start to get clarity on these 5 points of awareness, it helps you to discern what mission God has for your life.
Yes.
Right? And so you can start to see, okay, obviously I have resonance here. Part of my mission is experience more of this resonance. How can I create more of this? How can I enter into more of this? And as you grow aware of these points of awareness, the one we're going to be exploring here today is
problem solution
combos that we've got. When opportunities come up to enter into that, you're more likely to say yes. Okay?
Yes. Yeah. I love this one. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. I think of it as naming the animals. Again, like Adam was naming all those animals. He was looking for the resonance of finding that perfect partner.
Yeah.
He was learning more and more about himself. But then eventually when Eve was presented to him, his perfect partner, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, she was able to see. So the work that you do on the awareness side of things, guys, it's framing you to be able to receive the mission or the partner or the calling that God wants to present to you. But he wants to present it at a time where you're able to say yes. This work starts to till the soil for
where
that.
you can receive it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember, so it was like when we were adults, well into our adulthood, and somebody kind of presented this idea to us. It was their first coach. It was just like, hey, like, what if God was calling you to something bigger? And it just like, it was such a jarring question where as an adult, you're like, who dreams about these things? It's just so unrealistic. And like, we kind of go down that path. And like, I don't even remember the last time I actually wondered like what God was calling me for my life. I knew that there was some type of like untapped potential, but I just was like,
just so involved in the day to day.
Yeah. And also just kind of felt like I wasn't allowed. Like it was a little self-indulgent. Was it Catholic? Like all of these things. So I think really just starting to allow yourself to explore this. It is not immoral to explore this. The Lord he's spoken, his dreams that he's spoken over you are much bigger than yours. So I think that's just kind of, my little 2 cents. But let's get into this point of awareness that we're talking about today.
Yep.
So today we're talking about problem solution combos. So this may seem like two things, and it is, but they work together. What are the problems that you feel drawn to, really to bring a solution to? And what is the way that you solve these problems?
Because people can be drawn to address the same problem, But then the solution that they bring really is drawing from who they are. It's drawing a lot from that unique design pillar.
Yep.
And so it's going to show up a little bit differently. And so the more you come to even know your unique design, it starts to drive the way that you come to these solutions. We're going to be talking more about that here.
And really what we're looking at is historically, because that's the evidence that we have right now. So we're going, okay, what problems do you feel kind of drawn to solving? Have you felt drawn to solving, and how have you solved them uniquely? Why did we pick this as a point of awareness, Matt?
Well, so again, when we talked about interests are as diverse as people. I think solution sets are also as diverse as people, because each one of us reveals God's love in a unique and unrepeatable way.
Yeah.
And a problem is an absence or a deficiency in that love being present in the world. If we look at every problem as there's a lack of love, or there's a lack of God's love being made visible, then we consider the way that we uniquely make God's love visible, and then we say, okay, can I bring this? Can I bring this to this particular person or geographic area or cause, whatever it is that you feel drawn to, and make God's love visible more here? Your mission, we like to look at your mission is really when you're stepping into that unique word that God has given to you. He has set his word forth, and it is not returned to him until it's accomplished its purpose. Each one of us has that unique word that we are called with our life to make flesh, right? To make incarnate and make it visible. And so I think this really starts to explore that. Yeah. And when people start to identify it, they get a lot of resonance.
I think Mother Teresa, and I want to get into these lies quickly, just because we want to get there, right? But Mother Teresa revealed this really uniquely. She saw a problem in India, Calcutta, and she found a solution, and she did it in her own unique way. She brought her own gifts, her own talents. And even that one time where that woman was like, I think it was a woman who raised her hand and was like, I want to be like you, Mother Teresa. And Mother Teresa was like, you had to find your own Calcutta. You had to find kind of your own problem and your own solution to address this.
Such wisdom. Like, for a woman that could have used much more help.
Yes.
To just be like, hey, you know what? God has got a plan. Like, don't just think that you can copy what I'm doing and it's gonna somehow make you bring you into a deeper relationship with God.
We see this with all of the other saints too. Saint Jose Maria Escriva.
Yeah.
Revealed the dignity of work as a form of prayer for the laity. Mother Cabrini revealed the love of God through her care for the orphan, the sick, and the forgotten. So everybody's kind of like, I like thinking that the problem solution is that first step to find out what you will be a patron of when you become a saint.
I love it.
So it's kind of like revealing this, God willing, we all become saints, right? Which is God's path for us. That's what he wants for us. So,
and in the coaching world, we look at this as like finding your niche.
Yes.
Right? Or even like you've heard us say finding your swim lane, which isn't necessarily particular to coaching, but I think it works. It works. It's finding your place in the body of Christ, your unique place, your unique function, what you deliver. I know for me, it's one thing to be like, hey, I'm a coach, but it's another thing to say that I really love working with men that want to find greater meaning in their work, their professional life, but also in a way that like doesn't drain them so that they don't have anything to give when they go home, or they don't have anything to give their prayer life even when they go home. It just becomes something that consumes them. So I love helping them find that job that resonates and fills them up such that they can be the best dad and be the best husband when they go home.
Yeah. Feeding their families while they're feeding their soul.
I like it.
Yes.
Good tagline. How about you, Aaron?
Well, I looking historically back on, just my path as a coach, in my particular niche, like when people ask me, do I do one-on-one coaching? My first question is, are you a coach? Because that's who I do one-on-one coaching with. And just to know that. And we have other resident coaches that I can find out what the person's problem is and be like, hey, this is a good connection for you. But that really, I think, I saw this deficiency in a skill. The problem was like this deficiency in a skill for Catholic coaches. Like there was no program that was legitimately Catholic at its core to become a coach, to actually learn how to become a coach and actually like teach skill in an effective way, you know? And so I saw a need there. I was looking for the solution. Like somebody else must have thought of this. I don't know like why I'm the only one looking for this, but it turns out that nobody else had actually created that yet. And so I started to kind of consult even my own gifts and even the people who were coming to me already for this help, and started to build our certification, our coach training.
Yeah, even coaching your passion, or like consulting your passion and your interests. Like, where did you really feel like, boom, I just got done coaching this person, and like I feel I'm on fire.
Totally. So you can start to see how these points of awareness start to work together with one another, our interests, our talents, our gifts, and our and the problem that we see. And I just don't think that's interesting too, even just from my own story. It's like, I saw this problem and I was shocked that nobody else saw this problem and had brought a solution to it.
So even seeing the problem like that in itself was a gift.
Yeah. I saw a deficiency, and also just a lack of understanding of like what our church taught about, about like the human person. So, and how to coach them effectively. So, well, that's a little plug there too for our certification. We do have another one rolling out in October, but we have all these early bird specials. So definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Because we are coming close to the end of an early bird cycle. We're probably already over it on to
by
next.
The time this goes. Yeah. Yeah. So like so the problems, guys, if here's some symptoms, we always like to give you a little bit of self-diagnosis up front. If you don't really know this problem solution combo that you bring, one of the first things that you might find yourself experiencing is just being spread thin. Like you say, you don't know how to really steward your yes. You don't have hard boundaries on your yes. It's just kind of like, if I can do it, then I'll do it kind of thing. And you end up saying yes to a lot of things that actually drain you.
Yep.
And that fills you with resentment, right? Doesn't lead to really revealing love, right?
Brings you off mission too.
And it actually, it actually takes the spot for somebody that has that gift to show up and be that gift there too. So there's an opportunity cost there that we miss. We don't get involved. That's the other extreme. Like we just say, I don't know what my gifts are, so I'm just going to kind of cloister and not get involved at all. And then finally, I think this is something that we can indulge in problems that really we have no business indulging in. Like, we
have a podcast about this too. It was like pick a fight or something.
Yeah, how to pick a fight.
How to pick a fight, and it was like, what fight are you being called to?
Yeah, so it's like, okay, I got to be up to speed on everything that's going on in the political world, or up to speed on everything that's going on in like Real Housewives.
Consult your state in life and your vocation on that.
Yeah,
that's kind of an easy solution to that.
But the benefits of this, you guys, is like on the flip side, when you know the problems that you feel really drawn to address, and the unique solution that you bring, first of all, you get rid of the comparison game, because you stop thinking like, oh, this person's already out there they're doing it great, blah, 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 blah. Like you recognize that you have a unique solution, a unique way that you reveal God's love that nobody else does. And that's yours, and you get to bring that. You get to choose where you direct that. You start to establish better boundaries on where you give that as well. And you start telling people also the problems that you solve, so that when they have that problem, they come back to you. We are constantly encouraging our new coaches to be like, "Yo, have you told anybody that you're a coach yet?" And they're like, "No." It's like, why not? It's like as if it's you're like imposing something on them by telling you you're a coach. It's like I learned something once. People file you away, especially from a business standpoint, based on the problems that you solve.
Yes.
And so if you don't reveal the problem that you solve, people just don't even, you're not even worth remembering at that point. And it's not because it doesn't have anything to do with you and who you are.
Yep.
It's just like, let's get better at really explaining what we can do for people and how we operate in the body of Christ.
Yep.
And finally here, guys, permission. You find this permission and this peace of just staying in your swim lane, and you start to experience not being isolated, but part of this greater body of Christ.
This is interesting. I shared this with you yesterday, but there was a man giving a TED Talk. I don't know what the name of the TED Talk was, but it was something about finding purpose in your life. And here he was a Yale graduate, and he was there like back at Yale like 30 years later for like, you know, a reunion.
This is cool.
And he was like talking to everyone, and what he started to discover was like about 80% of the graduates, here they are, like, you know, they have their second house, they have their second spouse at this point too, probably. But then there's like 80% of them were like, I hate my job. Like I am not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not happy.
Wow. 8 out of 10.
80% of Yale graduates, these people who like
not dummies.
Yes. Are like the top tier, like we would just say the smart people, the people who were probably very successful.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it wasn't really success that had anything to do with it. So then he was like, then I started talking to the 20% people and being like, what's the difference? What questions did these people answer that these people didn't, you know? And he said, these were the 5 questions. Who am I? Sound familiar? Who am I? What is my unique design? That's our little add-on. What do I do? What do I do well? Pretty much. Like, what are your talents? What are your interests? What do I do? Number 3, who do I do it for? How do I help them? And how does that impact their lives moving forward? Notice that out of the 5, the 3, there's more about other people. There's more about problems that you're solving than your self-reflection. So this, I mean, I'm saying that here because this, I think this point of awareness, I get really jazzed about this one.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of the key to leading a fulfilling life. I really think like being able to find problems and then being able to give your unique solution and that like, let that ring true in your mind. You have a unique solution. Don't
wait for it either, you guys. I was talking to a gentleman who just got into coaching kind of later on in his life. And what he discovered is that he was constantly telling himself, once I retire, then I'm going to do something more meaningful. And there came a point where a really trying situation came up in his family, and he and his wife looked at each other and said, why do we keep delaying meaning? Like tomorrow's not a guarantee. How can we, and he started asking the better questions, right? How can we start to bring more meaning into our professional life? And they ended up starting up a couple of businesses that just gave to some of the charities that were meaningful to them, but it ended up providing for the business. And now he actually helps other CEOs that are in this same situation where they're just like, I'm here, but I'm the 80%.
Yep.
The 80% group.
But
I want more meaning in my life. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get into the enemy strategy here because this is what we're talking about with all the points of awareness. So the enemy does not want us to uncover the problem, the unique problem that we solve and the unique solution. So of course he uses his strategy, which are lies. That's his favorite.
Ta-da!
It's not very creative.
No.
But so these lies, of course, and I'm just going to give you guys a brief little background. Lies are not a big deal if we don't believe them. If we do believe them, we are coming into that psychological compatibility with the enemy, which is kind of a dramatic way of saying it, but it's true. So I'm going to stick to that story. So the first enemy lie that keeps us from ever even looking for the problem that we solve and our unique solution is I don't know what problem I solve. Now you're like, wait, but what if you really don't know? And I'm like, here's what I want to tell you. Continually saying, I do not know what problem I solve, or I don't know blank, whatever it is that you follow suit with that, will never help you find that. Okay? And I think that's really good for you to know because saying, I don't know what problem I solve leads you to confusion always. And then you are over researching everything and you don't have the capacity or ability to even solve any problem. Not even the one in your brain that's going on, that's on that confusion loop. I don't know. And you abdicate this responsibility of actually discovering the problems that you solve. So it's like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in this way. Like, I don't know. You continue to tell yourself that, and then you continue to not know.
And I can understand this too, you guys. Like, I can hold a little bit of space for this and why we end up going this way, because somebody needs to teach us how to kind of walk through this process of self-discovery. It's not hard, but there's not a lot of people that are teaching it, right? We go to school and we're constantly studying things that are outside of us and we're acquiring a ton of external knowledge. And goodness gracious, our phones have tons of knowledge, tons of, quote, wisdom that's out there that's at our fingertips. But it's not the place that's going to give us the answer ultimately. And that's the problem. We've been trained to kind of look outside of ourselves.
Yep.
And really the work to find this, or the place to find this, is more of an inward journey.
Yeah. And it's not just you. It's Jesus. It's like the Lord within you. It's that conversation that's going on.
Yes.
But I think just a quick tip on the phrase, I don't know. The reason why I'm kind of like,
you're very passionate about this.
I am very passionate about this because
this is a return lesson here, you guys.
Confusion steals dreams more than any other emotion.
Yeah, indulgent confusion.
It really does. And it steals your mission from you over any other emotion. This is why I get so passionate about it. But you can just, it's a simple little trick. You can just add on one word to that sentence. I don't know what problem I solve yet. It leads to a different emotion because it starts to kind of bring that hope. Starts to say like, wait. Okay, so I might be just on the journey of discovering this. Now, can you imagine those actions that come from that? I don't know what problem I solve yet, but I might be able to find out. Right? I might be able to start to move towards.
What I like about the area is you kind of adjusted the goal, right? The goal in this case is like, I want to find my problem solution. Like I want to find my niche, right? Yeah. And rather you just made the goal, I want to be open.
Yeah.
I want to be open and curious. I want to be seeking. So like I want my state to be seeking right now. And that question, I think, sets you off on that journey. Seeking, you shall find. Yeah. Because it's not something, guys, like this, we learned that you can't just go to a niche workshop and suddenly emerge and have your niche. You can't. It's something that unfolds over time.
Yes.
Now, a niche workshop can help you to kind of go through the steps of really understanding the problem solution combo that you bring to the table. But eventually that's got to be actually tested out and executed and baited. And like you gotta actually move into a practical discernment where we're actually engaging some of these problems.
Yeah.
Like in the flesh, you're engaging them, not just in your mind, but you're actually engaging them, just like Adam was naming the animals, right?
Yeah.
And then you're testing that, you're being a student of yourself through the whole process, testing for those points of resonance.
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys a quick tip of how to start to explore that, okay? Once you kind of remove the I don't know and I'll never know type of thought, because that's really what it means. It's like the parentheses that follows the I don't know. It's
not knowable. You can't figure it out. Nobody knows.
It's very permanent. But like now we're going, I don't know yet, but I could figure this out. So like now we're kind of on this precipice and we want to start to ask better questions. So here's a little bit of, if you know a strength, any gift that you have, any talent, now please go back and listen to the last one that we talked about, the talents.
Your gifts.
Yeah. But if you know any of those, that's a great starting point. So let's just say you have the gift of joy and laughter, right? And you just bring it wherever you go. I think of my uncle. Please pray for him, my Uncle Bill. He is, he has cancer. And even the nurses who come and like work with him, they're like, when they leave the room, they're like, thank you for inviting me to your party. He's just like so joyful and he brings it everywhere he goes. So let's just say that's a gift of yours. And the problem, then you ask yourself, what problem do I solve with this gift?
With this gift.
With this gift, what particular problem do I solve? Well, we could probably just assume, logically, we could move to this place where it's probably people who are feeling unnecessary sorrow and gloominess, right? Now, of course, we want to be like, not impose that upon them. But we could go and be like, hey, I know that this gift of mine can actually bring this, like even just my uncle, that example, like, nobody wants to be on the cancer unit. And, even the nurses probably feel that way.
Yeah, I imagine it weighs on them. Yep.
Yeah. So like he kind of brings that wherever he goes.
Yeah.
And so it's bringing this unnecessary sorrow and gloominess. That is the problem that you start to solve. So that's kind of a quick little tip. It's like what gift do I have? And then who might need this?
I love when I was interviewing Father Bill Hansen, who rolled out StrengthsFinder at his parish. He tells the story about a woman who knew that she was high in empathy, and she was just kind of cleaning up the church one day, and she saw another woman that was kneeling before the Blessed Mother, the statue, and just weeping. And at first she was just like, I'll just kind of let her be on her own. And then she thought to herself, hey, I have this gift of empathy, which means I can really connect heart to heart on an emotional level with people. And so she went over to this woman and just kind of sat with her and comforted her and didn't try to change her mood. She just kind of held the space for that emotion. And this woman, who wasn't a member of the parish, stopped by the office on the way out and was just like, everybody you have here at this parish is just so nice. Aww. So nice. And that was like a very, very, very small way. But here, knowing the gifts, and then going into that situation where it's like, oh, this is an opportunity to apply my gift. She was also coming to an understanding of what is the problem that I address. Here's somebody that is alone and in their pain. Time and in pain. Yes. And the gift that I bring is I can just be with them. I can take away the loneliness. I can be a presence that's there that just holds a space for them.
Yep.
Like, that's a beautiful thing. People poo-poo that and it's like, how can you charge money for that? Let's get enough with, like, how do we monetize and turn something into productivity? It's like that woman that gave that gift left that church feeling so much meaning, so much meaning. And the other person receiving it, so both felt very seen because both of them were authentically revealing themselves to one another. More of that. More, Lord. Yeah.
So questions that you can ask yourself, because we always say when you ask better questions, you get better answers. What are your gifts and what problems do those gifts solve? So it's just something where you could just write down, okay, here's something that I'm gifted in, you know? And I this is like a plug for our academy, but like come into our academy, even the free version, just come into our academy and find out, you know, your temperament. And we have an entire temperaments report that gives you strengths and gifts. And then obviously we also look at weaknesses too, but like go look at those, find out what your primary temperament is, look at the strengths, and then be like, what problems does this gift or strength solve?
Yeah, every once in a while we have Marty on our team also give a free workshop that just walks you through how to read that report and get the most out of it. So jump into the academy, folks. Again, you can go to metanoiacatholic.com or catholiccoaching.com, click on academy. You can join the basics for free. And I encourage you to just engage with that space a little bit. And when that event pops up, join that event and meet Marty. He's pretty awesome. He's very high positivity.
Yes, Marty's a great just add to your life in general.
Happy to know Marty.
But okay, here's some other questions. What problems has the Lord solved for you in your life? Yeah. I love that because it's like so generative. When the Lord actually solves a problem for us, we want to like give it to others. What do others ask you for advice on? This is kind of starting to be like, oh, other people are kind of noticing that I seem to solve this problem. And then what problem would you pause everything for to go help solve it? Like you just drop everything. You're like, that's for me. I definitely, if somebody calls me up and they're like, hey, I just need I need other eyes on this. Can you like help me through this particular thing emotionally or mentally, like a mental block? I'm like, done.
She does it, folks.
That doesn't mean you can all call me. Well, you can't because you don't have my number.
I get to do it. I get to because we're married.
But I will drop everything. He knows that. I'll be like the middle of praying. It's probably not that prudent, but I'll be like, yes, of course, I'll coach you.
I love it. Yeah. She cuts my hair and she trims my mind. Okay.
I'm a head doctor.
She's does all things head
designer.
Your hair looks great today.
Thanks.
All right. Can we move on to the second strategy? Okay.
Yep.
So the second strategy here, folks.
No, the second enemy strategy.
That's what I'm talking about. Second enemy strategy. Thank you very much for clarification. Yeah. Second lie that pops up is I have to do it all myself. Okay. So if we have this sort of mindset, really an all or nothing mindset.
Wait. What is it? I have to do it all myself.
Okay. So we look at a problem or we look at all the problems, or say we get invited to be part of a team that's working through a problem. It's kind of this hyper responsibility. I have to do all of these things, or I have to address all the problems.
I have to solve all the problems.
I have to solve all the problems, soup to nuts, right? Yeah. And for people that like, I can empathize with this a lot because this was a lie that I've really dealt with somebody that's high responsibility, high strategic, high restorative. I can see a lot of the problems, high futuristic. I can see not only problems now, but problems in the future.
Yep.
But I'm also adept at like building good strategies to address them. But my problem is that I have a tough time passing it off and delegating. So like command is my number 34. So I don't really like to impose on other people. And because of that, I can just be like, I'll do it.
So I imagine that's really overwhelming and like leads you to burnout.
Holy mackerel. Like incredibly overwhelming. And yes. And eventually it just gets to this point where it's very funny, right? You either go with the route of, I'm going to do it all myself. And then I burn out and then you do nothing. Like you really solve no problem. Or you just say, I'm not going to engage at all. You get the overwhelm ahead of time and you're like, nope. And you do nothing. Yeah. Like so this I have to do all myself. You do nothing. Leads eventually to you doing nothing, or at least doing nothing well. So it's a funny little strategy here. Or resentfully doing something, which we could argue is not doing it well. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So like the truth is you really are allowed to just be part of the solution. I think this is super, super helpful. And guys, I think God designs problems that need to be addressed such that we need one another to solve them. Even getting to heaven. I remember somebody being like, hey, nobody gets to heaven by themselves. And the beautiful part of that is that it really reveals more of what heaven is. It's not just union with God, but it's union with his body for all eternity. And that's a beautiful thing here. So we get to have, when we start to, again, identify our swim lanes, identify the portion of the problem that we are going to address and do well, then we create opportunities for interdependent relationships. Those are healthy relationships because they foreshadow the beatific vision and alignment and union with the whole body of Christ in heaven. Yeah, this lie is just loaded with, I'm just going to kind of like point a little bit to our coach training too. It's loaded with wordplay errors. So wordplay is one of our drills, and we kind of focus on like powerless words, but also universal words. And this lie, I have to do it all myself. Okay, I have to. We talked about that last podcast. I have to. Like, there's this right. There's such a powerlessness, and you have an internal rebellion. So we can argue in saying like just using that phrase doesn't work, right? You could remove it and say I choose to. Now we're in agency. Now we're actually starting to make intentional decisions from that place. Yep. And then all of it. You know, it's such a universal term. Like, I have to do it all myself. Yes. It's like, of course. No boundaries, no scope. Right? Like, well, okay, let's get to the facts. What do you actually choose to do? All right? I didn't say have to do. What do you actually choose to do? And what are the things that are your priority? Like, what are the things that are actually in your role? Like, I think about when I'm a coach, I love out of the gate saying, here's what I'm really good at, and here's what I'm not good at. Okay? I can coach you on your mindset about money all day long. I will never look at your books. Nope. That goes to somebody else. That's in my bottom 5 if we're looking at my strengths. If whatever is like accounting, the accounting strength is my number 34th, my very lowest. Yeah. So like Matt, what you were saying is like even that strategic partnership, finding somebody who fills in the gaps. But also, like, guys, just be mindful of the words that you're using in your mind. Like, you don't have to do it all. That's a universal word. It can't be used in a particular situation here. So you are believing a lie when you use those universal words out of context. Yeah, it will lead to overwhelm. Okay, so like that counter strategy, I think is growing and aware of our limitations. Okay, we call these things weaknesses. It's a point of awareness in our unique design pillar. Okay, so we can see how these things complement one another. Each one of these 3 pillars. Guys, we tried rolling it out in our academy, having like these distinct 3-pillar workshops every single month. But what we found is we were drawing from all 3 pillars every single time. Every time. They can't. And it was just, we were just having 3 workshops, and people, that was causing like, which one is most important here? So they all by work design, together. These things just work together, which is why we love the framework and it kind of, it works together. So
but you need to know your weaknesses.
Yep. Yep. And it's just knowing that holding space for that you are just one part of the body. There's something very humble in this.
Yes. The elbow isn't pretending to be the ear or, and
the
also,
weemus.
Yes. Such a weird word.
It's the little skin on your elbow. I think that's what it's called.
It
I don't know
is.
if it's a technical term.
I have no idea.
I hope it's not a derogatory term.
I think somebody told me that when I was 12 and I've just clung to that.
I remember Christopher West was saying at one of his courses, he's just like, we have all these like different names for our genitalia, but like, why don't we have a name for like the skin on our elbow? And I remember you mean the weemus? There's a name for it?
Yeah.
It's like, but there's one.
And it rhymes with a name for the genitalia.
Elbow.
Anyway.
Okay. Anyways.
Here we are.
Moving on.
So, St. Paul talks about the body and it has many parts. And
You're a 5-year-old.
Yes.
We have 7-year-old humor in this house.
Mm-hmm.
Body has many parts. Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah,
Just to remember that.
You always bring up that tomato stand analogy here too. Like
with evangelization, like there's this story. I don't know if it's a real story or if it's a fake story. But it's like a father and the daughter driving down the road and they see a sign for a tomato stand and they go, that's cool. Then they see another one and they're like, okay.
I could go for some tomatoes.
Yeah.
Caprese
then they
salad.
see a third one and they're like, wow, those tomatoes look really good. And then the fourth one they finally stop at. But it's kind of like taking credit, like the fourth one taking credit for all the work that the other ones did ahead of time.
Yeah.
And in the same sense, like that's how we work together as the body of Christ. We don't know if we're the first tomato stand or the last one. And there's like this lack of what are you like?
I'm just thinking of south of the border. Like if you've ever driven down 95 through like South Carolina into Georgia or North Carolina, I can't remember, but for 150 miles north and south, there are like every billboard is owned by this guy south of the border, right?
Yeah.
And it's just this little theme park that's there, and it's like,
and I don't even think I've
I
never
never
seen,
saw such a thing.
And I've also never seen like anything on.
Like cars there.
I've never seen cars there. I've never seen. So if anybody knows the story about
front.
south of the border,
It's
please
a
let
front.
us know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So lie number 3.
Okay.
Let's get into this.
Let's do it.
Other people are already solving that problem. So this could lead to abdication. This could be like, yeah, it's already taken care of. Like we can, like, let's say you do like discover the problem that you solve. And then you're like, wait, other people are doing this. So like, why should I even try? Like, what do I have to give to this? How could I add to this?
Abdication, but also like just a dismissal of a desire that's on your heart. I think in the movie The Truman Show, where it like pans to him, and it's the whole story about this guy that like he's this television company owns him, and it's a reality show of everybody in his life is an actor. It's in a big auditorium, and he's the only one that doesn't know that he's the center of the show. And they sow all of these lies in his life to just keep him fixed on site, rather than venturing out and exploring and like leaving, right? And so there's this one part where he's a little kid, and they like pull down, he's like, I want to be an explorer someday. And they can't have him be an explorer because that means he has to leave the island. And the teacher responds like, hey, she pulls on the map, every single thing has already been discovered. So really no point in being an explorer. Like that's kind of what I think we're getting into here. Yep. There's just no point. And it just, in other words, like just do away with that desire here. There's not going to be any fruit that comes forward from it.
There's a couple other presumptions too, that there's only one way to address a problem. And also that those people have addressed everybody in the entire world's needs to solve this problem. Yeah. So there's like a couple other presumptions that really could be interrogated here and not be actually legitimate.
Yeah, like we've tried to draw more priests into our community. And it's great. There are some priests that join our community, but the more we talk with other priests, what we've found is that they really like to have a brotherhood, like a growth journey that's with other priests. And so I've been encountering but 2 coaches in particular that one's in our certification training and the other one just a buddy of mine. But they feel very called to bring human formation to priests or seminarians. And I love that because it's just like, then I don't have to create this program that is all about addressing the specific needs that are there, because there's enough niche need there that an entire operation could be dedicated to it.
Yes.
From what we've seen.
Yep.
And so this is where it's like, if we kind of even move over into the strategy portion here with this,
well, hold on. I do have a story too. I remember doing hair, and like I had to, I worked with like 18 other hairstylists in this tiny little old house, and everybody was doing hair, and it was in a popular area, so we were all busy all the time. But I remember just thinking, like, here we are all solving the same problem, like bad hair or like bad roots or something. But why does so-and-so go to this person? Why does so-and-so come here? And it was never like this, like, oh, I'm feeling bad about myself. But it's like, it just made me kind of start to contemplate, like, we're all kind of solving the problem in a different way. And people know that. And then they continue to come back to you because they actually like the way that you solve the problem. So there's that different, you're not going to solve the problem for everybody in the entire world. Like just using your example, some priests might just like our community and not want that, I would say most people would probably want that, but just to kind of be like, I like how they solve the problem.
Yes.
And it's still solving the problem. It's still to the same end, but it's in a different way. And those particular people who need that problem solved like that. They prefer it.
Yeah.
So you're going to solve the problem in a different way.
Yeah. You created your value formula course, Aaron, like specifically on this. Because again, a lot of people, it's like, okay, I'm a coach. I got the certification. I'm just going to go offer coaching. It's just like, nobody wants to buy coaching. So like, what is the unique problem based on who you are? And even what God has already done in your life, what healing He's brought in your life, what problems He's brought in your life, what solutions He's given to you that are now overflowing from you into other people.
I remember asking Maggie, she's one of our resident coaches, and this was like such a breakthrough moment. I love this. And this actually was on when I was taking them through the value formula course, which it was still a baby and it was a very amateur phase. But I remember asking her, Maggie, she was really stuck on her niche. Like, who am I going to help, serve, or whatever. It was just very like kind of bland. You could tell she wasn't like emotionally excited about it too. And it was just like, this seems like a good, like logical, niche or whatever. And I said, Maggie, what problem has the Lord solved for you in your life? And what can you uniquely bring to that? And she her eyes just lit up. Maggie had lost over 100 pounds, like within a year.
Yeah, in a very healthy way. In a
very healthy way. And it was another area too that people just kind of randomly came to her and asked her, like, hey, what are you doing? And it was just, she just like lit up and was like, I don't even know why I never even thought of this. But like ever since then, she knew what it was. And she created, like, she just started creating all this material around it. Like, it was all of her excitement and it was just, she realized what problem she solved as a coach.
Yeah. If you want to connect with a good Catholic weight loss coach, ladies, all right, check Maggie out. She's one of our resident coaches. Just go to CatholicCoaching.com, get coached, find Maggie, set up a call with her.
Yeah, she's such an incredible story. And you met another woman that she worked with who lost over 100 pounds, right?
Oh, yeah, Shannon. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
She was just like, she would tell her story and she would cry. Yeah.
So beautiful.
I mean, it just moved, and it wasn't just the weight loss; it was the internal transformation that she was really longing for, and all of the way she describes just the self-loathing that was there, and just the finally being able to love herself, and then that transformed her relationship with the Lord and her relationship in her marriage. Like, it was this fruits.
Yeah, and from that experience, just coaching Maggie, I realized, oh my goodness, unique design needs to come first. Before we start to find any problems that we solve, we need to know what our gifts are. We need to know start to understand our story too, ahead of time before we can actually. And so that's how I created the value formula course. It was like, no. God has a unique design for you. We're going to explore that. And then we're going to go into finding what your niche is.
Yeah. It starts with who. And so that's like the big strategy takeaway for this point. It starts with who, you guys. And in a really practical way that you can start with who, Aaron already brought it up. go download the app, Metanoia Catholic Academy. You can download it for your Android or your iOS device, or you can just go to CatholicCoaching.com, do the academy, join the basic academy. You can get the desktop experience of the academy. So the app and the academy, they're the same thing. Okay. One's is a mobile version. That's an actual app. And the other one is just a desktop experience of it. But if you go into the basics, we have some basic assessments, like our temperaments assessment, even our sensory preference assessment, that's in there that can really help you to start with who, right? Ground with who. So everything that we're talking about here and identifying your problem solution combinations, which is really like, how do I show up and be a gift in a very niche, particular way? And I do it over and over and over again. And I do it well, and I'm excellent, and it's filled with enthusiasm. It starts with who. So go take those assessments, download the academy, join the Basic Academy, guys. And then when you are ready, and like, don't wait on this, join us in Academy Plus, where we are doing this work as a community. Lots of live calls, lots of live assistance. It's there. You can even get one-on-one coaching with our coaches that are in training that are with this. So a ton of support as you're exploring your who you are, but then, what am I called to do with my life in a way that nobody else in all eternity, like all of human history, is being called to reveal God to the world. Boom.
Boom.
Cool.
And that's it.
All right. We'll see you guys next week as we explore a little bit more into the points of awareness for your unique mission.
Yep.
Peace.
See you there.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.